Hello Pagan Perspective viewers, this is Delia here on the Saturday subslot of Pagan Perspective. Today we're talking about the pagan in the Christian church. Alright, this week's topic comes from our viewer, Daniel P. I'm saying it like Daniel, but it's Danielle. Yeah. And Pagans at Lakewood. She writes that she considers herself first and foremost a pagan. However, she lives in the Houston area and she loves to attend Joel Osteen's church, Lakewood. She says, "We may have heard of him as he is the best-selling author. Lakewood describes themselves as a Christian church but have many critics in the mainstream Christian community for not really being Christian. The main criticism is the positive message. Basically, Joel preaches the law of attraction in Christianese. I do not believe the church is really Christian," she says, "because it is so different from my fundamentalist's upbringing. I have often gone so far as to believe it's a different Jesus that they are worshiping because of the basic differences compared to other Christian churches. This is the question. Does it pose a conflict in being a pagan to love going to church here? I would never tell the people there that I am pagan unless I am asked flat out. And what is your point of view?" Well, Danielle, I love the grasped concept of fully devoting your spirituality to that expansion. How I have viewed it in very many different metaphorical ways throughout the last 2 years of my spiritual expansion has been puddle. I jump from one puddle, I leave on my big stagnant puddle, and then I move along to jumping and playing in new puddles. And each puddle brings me something closer to my spiritual enlightenment. And then I have also metaphorized it as a bubble that grows and grows and grows, and it doesn't pop. The bubble doesn't pop when it comes into contact with something else. It absorbs that new thing and keeps on expanding. I've also explained it as walking down a hallway, and it's a beautiful hallway with mahogany walls, the doors are gold trimmed, the plush velvet red carpet. It's a very beautiful hallway, and each door I open leads me to my new point of destination, the expansion of my spirituality. Now, I might want to rush ahead and try to open all the doors at once, but some of them are not yet ready for me to open, so I haven't been able to open all of them. But now my hallway is vast with open doors, and I still have many more doors to open. And the most recent metaphor I've come up with, my spiritual expansion, is the rising sun comes up as a dome, and eventually it pushes out all of the darkness and brings in new light into my environment, my spiritual growth. And to be able to sit down in a Christian church and find that spiritual expansion there is no different than finding those of like-minded beliefs in a coven, in a group, in a workshop, throughout here on the Pagan YouTube community. So many people to look at for teachings, for mentoring, for being that catalyst for our spiritual growth. And it all comes at the time when we need it to come. And that is what is so fascinating about this expansion, is that I did not even know I would need this until now I know I needed it. And so it just kind of falls into your plate when you need it. Now, the way you explain this Christian church here makes sense as to it being a stepping stone, a puddle, a bubble, the rising sun in the direction of your spiritual expansion. However, I don't know how much of this is actually ego. And I know it's possible for us to go into a Christian church. It's not like we're going to be burning as soon as we walk through the door. I attended a wake of a loved family member who had passed on after the fight with cancer. And it was in a Christian fellowship church. It was not necessarily a churchy day, but it was very Christian undertone. And even though I do not believe that Jesus Christ was a real being, I see him more as the ancient man's concept of spirituality. Having looked to the heavens, they saw the sunrise and the stars in the sky and their positions, so forth and so on, and how that served as a symbol, metaphor with the planet Virgo being that of the Virgin, and then the sun rising at the winter months in the Western Hemisphere anyway. The winter months, it appears to the human eye that the sun has stopped for 3 days, and that begins on the 20th or 21st, depending on the degrees that the sun's in, the blah blah blah, and then it appears to stop for 3 days. And the sun will then, after these 3 days of rest, having stopped being, oh my god, the sun died, it's not moving anymore, it starts to rise again, bringing in the new light months back to us. Even though it's cold and it's winter, we are now having the sun regain its proper altitude, as proper as we're used to seeing it, as the human race has been left to the imagination and has created many symbols towards godships in the past. Horus, I mean, there's thousands of gods that have this same born of a virgin, rising sun, blah blah blah, resurrection of the sun, which is the literal sun in our sky. And so I would not attend just any service, but I do genuinely enjoy the fascination it brings me from learning another person's religious perspective or spiritual perspective. Having a very good conversation with a family friend. Now, being that this family friend has been a part of my husband's side of the family since he was a small child, she has grown on to this family as an aunt. So she is our aunt, and I love her completely. I totally think that she is one of the best people I know. She has changed her own spirituality to a form of Christianity that I have never heard of before. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful for her. It's beautiful for her growth. Because even though this woman can astral project, have what is the freaking word I'm looking for? Plurific dreams. That's not even the right word. Why am I getting this word wrong? It might be because I'm right, but I think I'm wrong. Okay, and visions, and do other things that are so witchy. She considers it just all the same thing, no matter what. It's not anything mystical or magical or university or whatever. Basically, what I enjoyed was the fascination of being able to sit down with an individual and bounce our own spiritual beliefs off of each other in a way that was, I love learning about how you do this. However, I don't want to have it as part of my practice, just because I see the world differently than you. I see my expansion differently. And that's the thing, is it's your spiritual expansion, and it's bringing you to where you are to be. And regardless of my aversion, my slight aversion to the Christian faith, depending on the denomination and what they're preaching, and holy rollers, and, you know, bring hell and damnation to the witches, you know, and just raising people to believe in hell and damnation, and It's upsetting. So, but I do find what you have written here as this is your take on it and how this is bringing you to spiritual expansion. More power to you. And I know that this was covered in 2010 on the Pagan Perspective, a similar topic. However, it is of the same likeness of that other topic. So please make sure to check our links below, because in there we have the Pagan Perspective. And check out the link for the Pagan Perspective at blogspot.com, and that will give you a rundown of all of the Pagan Perspective's topics to this point. What was it, 5 years, 4 years? 2009. So the last 4 years of topics here on the Pagan Perspective. Tomorrow will be the 1st of December, and everyone, I hope you enjoy your holidays, be that Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Yule, Christmas. I'm sure there's some other ones out there that I'm leaving out. Saturnalia. Yeah, so enjoy all of your delightful celebrations, and blessings to all of you. Goodbye.